Hello there. I wanted to talk today about the reporting under international sustainability standards and what does that mean for us in our finance leadership roles. And you're probably aware that we're still waiting for Australia to tell us what legislation, how much of the standard 1 and 2 is Australia going to adopt under legislation initially. And I think we're all expecting for this country to just to take the climate aspects of the sustainability standards as a first draw. So I'm calling that like a green standard, and I think the gold standard is the global international sustainability standards, and how that is the gold standard, and that we need to be thinking about how do we reach and how do we measure and how do we report on the gold standard, even if Australian standards are less than that, because it's only going to be a question of time before we get there. So I think, and my suggestion is to get our heads around it now, to think about all of the different aspects of sustainability, not just climate. And I know that this is a big subject for CFOs and finance leaders because we've all got a day job to do, and now this is mandated to be on top of that. And there's going to be a lot of effort involved in getting our systems and getting the data even identified initially on how do we capture some of this information, and let alone our supply chains as well. So it's going to be a big effort for us. So there's a really nice asset that the Chartered Accountants Worldwide have shared, and I just want to share that with you here so you can see the link here, and I'll put it into the show notes as well. But it's a really lovely infographic that shows us basically how we need to think about our own mindset and our business mindset as well. And we can jump in and jump out of any of these touch points along this infinity diagram on how do we start thinking about this for our own business. And I think, if we think about embedding our sustainability mindset is a really nice way to start, not just in finance, but across the whole of the business. And then we think about how do we map and engage our stakeholders, both internally and externally. And then how do we start identifying what key measures are for our business and what is the materiality of those measures, so that we can start to pick out what's important for our business and why. We identify and rate our risk exposure, and we can set goals. And also, a lot of our businesses, we've already got SDGs that we're aligning to. So, are those correct? Do they need resetting? And then you can see here around materiality, and then how do we adopt and develop a strategic plan and policies that really sort of speak to all of the information that we've already now ascertained. And then how do we then start capturing that data, and how do we put in controls in place to have the veracity of that data checked, so that there's assurance in that, as well as the transparency of the reporting of that. So this is a really nice asset. It talks about the different terms. It talks about the different frameworks around the Task Force for Climate Disclosures, but also Task Force for Nature Disclosures, the GRI and the GHG emissions targets as well. So there's some really good assets here to have a look at, because I know that as busy finance professionals, we don't always have time to be going out and working out, well, how much of this do I actually need to know, and how much of it can I kind of learn myself along the way. So that's a really good asset to have there. And of course, if you need any assistance, then reach out to our professional bodies, whether that's locally or globally, but also get yourself along to the different sessions that a lot of the global professions are running, in terms of getting yourself up to speed and educating ourselves on what's coming. But also reach out to me if you would like a confidential one-on-one discussion, because I have been playing in this field for the last 6 months, really, and starting to think about the different measures of, even beyond just climate disclosures, but thinking about how do I even think about the impact that my business is having. and that impact, not just financial impact, but what's the impact on social norms that we're operating in? What is the impact that we're having with, with nature's asset, whether it's water use or land use, or what do I do when I'm paying adequate wages to my staff, not just here in Australia, but across the world. So there's lots of areas to explore, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's going to help us reach not only our country's Paris commitments, but it's going to create hopefully a future that we can all share and pass down to our next generations. And I think as a finance leader, we're well placed to ensure that this is rolled out across our business, because we get to see the whole business, and also we get to have the trust and the respect, not just of our internal teams, but of the board, of shareholders, external stakeholders. They're always looking to the CFO and finance leaders for the truth. And I know I've been in a number of board meetings where I've actually had the CEO lying in front of me to the board, and I've had to a number of occasions had to kind of pull him up on actually what was the truth, how was the business operating. And I've had different successes in doing that, because you might think that's a rather career limiting move. But equally, I wanted to speak up, because there's no way that I'm feeling comfortable being in a boardroom with any executive that is misleading the board. So, as I say, a finance leader has a great opportunity to really make a difference here, and to shine the light on the right way forward for business transparency and business success. So if you feel inspired, then please come to my next Future Finance Thinkers Hub on the 16th, Tuesday, 16th of April, or reach out. There's another one in June. Reach out to me either directly here or on my email, paula@pkadvisory.com.au. I'd love to have a conversation and help you in any way that I can.